Hello, and welcome to the Nutrition Diva podcast, a show where we take a closer look at nutrition research, trends, and claims so that you can feel more confident about your food and nutrition choices. I'm your host, Monica Reinagel, and today I want to talk about the role of magnesium in preventing muscle cramps, because this is something I get a lot of questions about. On the one hand, a Cochrane review of the literature found that magnesium supplements were really no better than placebos in reducing cramp frequency or severity. Now, for those who may not be familiar with it, the Cochrane review process is very highly regarded in the scientific community for its rigor and its reliability. On the other hand, a lot of people, including my very own mom, are convinced that taking a magnesium supplement does help to ward off nighttime muscle cramps. But I think if we take a closer look at both the problem of muscle cramps and the evidence on magnesium, this can help us reconcile these seemingly contradictory positions and help you decide whether or not you want to try it. First of all, not all muscle cramps are the same. Exercise-associated muscle cramps, as the name implies, are frequently experienced by runners and other professional and recreational athletes. But muscle cramps are also more common in older individuals, and this is a phenomenon known as idiopathic cramping, which just means they don't really know what causes it. So let's tackle these one at a time, starting with the exercise-associated muscle cramps. Traditionally, these were thought to be caused by electrolyte imbalance and maybe dehydration. However, more recent research has cast some doubt on this. Acute electrolyte status does not reliably predict who will or will not experience cramping. And despite proper hydration and electrolyte supplementation, many athletes still experience muscle cramps. So this suggests that there are some other factors at play. Other research suggests that exercise-associated muscle cramps are more likely caused by muscular fatigue and changes that happen in nervous system excitability rather than simply from electrolyte depletion. This quote-unquote altered neuromuscular control hypothesis suggests that when muscles get fatigued, it creates an imbalance in the nerve impulses that control those muscles. Too much contracting, not enough relaxing, and the end result is cramping. Now, it is true that dehydration and electrolyte depletion can cause muscles to fatigue more readily, and then fatigued muscles are more likely to cramp. So there is an indirect connection, but muscle cramps tend to be more closely related to the intensity and the duration of exercise than they are to levels of electrolytes or hydration status. So here's the bottom line for athletes. Maintaining good hydration and electrolyte balance is still going to benefit overall health and performance. And if you exercise a lot, your requirement for magnesium and other electrolyte minerals, as well as fluids, may indeed be higher because of the perspiration losses. But the specific role of electrolytes in preventing those exercise-associated muscle cramps might be less significant than we previously thought. And instead, avoiding overtraining and allowing adequate recovery might be more effective strategies for preventing muscle cramps. Now, as I mentioned earlier, muscle cramps can also occur in people who are not athletes, especially as we get older. But here, the cause is more likely to be underuse, not overuse of muscles. A more sedentary lifestyle can cause muscles to atrophy, and that makes them easier to fatigue and therefore more susceptible to cramps. And without regular stretching and movement, muscles and also tendons can become tight and shortened. And this decreased flexibility can increase the likelihood of muscle cramps because tight muscles are more prone to spasms when they are then suddenly contracted. Inactivity can also lead to a decline in neuromuscular function, which can result in an imbalance in those signals to the muscles, causing involuntary muscle contractions or cramps. Now, interestingly, this is actually similar to the mechanism that can lead to cramps in athletes, that imbalance in the neural signals to the muscles. But in this case, the problem is not too much exercise, but too little. And the solution is not more recovery time necessarily, but more active time. Mom, are you listening? Older folks are also more likely to have low dietary magnesium intake or to be taking medications that could be affecting their magnesium levels. And some research indicates that people with lower baseline magnesium levels might experience more frequent or more severe muscle cramps. So this may help to explain why magnesium supplements seem to help some, but not others. If an individual is not particularly low in magnesium, or the muscle cramps are primarily due to under or overuse of the muscles, then taking extra magnesium isn't going to be as likely to help. But to the extent that low magnesium levels, whether that's due to low dietary intake or excessive perspiration loss, to the extent that this is contributing to the problems, then getting some more magnesium could help. And in fact, 6 out of 10 Americans don't actually get the recommended amount of magnesium every day. And adults over the age of 50 are even more likely to fall short. Now, the good news here is that magnesium is not that hard to come by. It's found in a very wide variety of whole foods, including fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. Really, when it comes right down to it, low magnesium intake is a marker for diets that are high in processed foods. Green vegetables are great sources of dietary magnesium because this mineral is part of the chlorophyll molecule, the one that gives plants their green color. So if you are eating the recommended 5 servings of vegetables a day, that's going to be a third of your magnesium requirement right there. And vegetables that are particularly high in magnesium include broccoli, Swiss chard, and green beans. Magnesium is also naturally present in whole grains, but heads up, this is one of those nutrients that gets stripped away when grains are refined. A cup of brown rice, for example, is going to supply a quarter of your daily magnesium requirement, while a cup of white rice provides only about 2% of your daily needs. Bran cereals are also particularly good sources of magnesium. Nuts and seeds are rich in magnesium as well. Brazil nuts and sunflower seeds are particularly good sources. But on average, you can count on getting about 20%, a fifth of your daily magnesium requirement from a 1 ounce serving of pretty much any nut or seed. And then finally, legumes such as lentils, soybeans, lima beans, all different kinds of dried beans are all good magnesium sources. They're going to provide about 20% of your daily needs per serving. Now, the foods that I'm mentioning here that are rich in magnesium are high in lots of other nutrients as well. So including more of these foods in your diet is going to improve your overall nutrition, not just your magnesium status. So rather than just pop a nutritional supplement, increasing our consumption of whole foods is by far the best way to increase magnesium intake, and it may well help to ward off those dreaded muscle cramps. And finally, I just want to say that if you are plagued by muscle cramps, and a magnesium supplement seems to help, well, who cares what the Cochrane Review thinks? Magnesium supplements are relatively safe, they're inexpensive. However, like any supplement, you should be aware of potential side effects and interactions. Some forms of magnesium, including magnesium oxide and magnesium citrate, can have a laxative effect, although this is often seen as a feature, not a bug. Magnesium can interact with certain medications, so you definitely want to check in with your pharmacist regarding any regular medications that you take, just to be on the safe side. And people with impaired kidney function should be especially cautious. That's it for this episode. I hope you got some useful takeaways from it. If you have a nutrition question you'd like me to answer, you can email me at nutrition@quickanddirtytips.com. I'd be happy to add it to my queue for future episodes. Nutrition Diva is a Quick and Dirty Tips podcast and supported by a wonderful team of people, including Brandon Getchis, Nathan Sems, Davina Tomlin, Holly Hutchins, Morgan Christensen, and Cameron Lacey. Thanks to all of them, and thanks to all of you for listening. I'll see you next week.